I'm worth the most invisible man on the earth.
You think I need a partner?
I think you need a man that knows every vein in them trains.
We are supposed to create our own opportunities.
The force of our oppression is the truest measure of our power.
The Porter is a historical drama set in the 1920s. It really tells a story of Black ambition, unapologetic Black ambition, we like to say. Really sets on the shoulders of two men, brothers in arms, brothers in life, who were torn apart by, in the pursuit of two different ideas of what it means to be free and autonomous in the world. What we were doing is a sort of taking what is true about the spirit, about the era, in some case where a historical figure has sort of said things on a record. And, you know, we obviously can't have your ear to the door at the place and the time, but we can take what we know to be their words, what we know to be their actions, what we know to be their perspectives, and really in the writer's room breathe life to that and still have authenticity even in a fictional world. So we're really grateful for a great team that helped make that happen.
The project was around for, I think, about 5 years before it went into production. Yeah, it's something that I think we've all been really passionate about, and we're just also thrilled to see it go ahead and finally make it to the screen in February. But it's been absolutely, I think Leah and I have just had a blast working on it. It's been like no other project we've worked on, I think.
It's Canadian history, and it hasn't yet been documented. And we don't learn this, and we haven't learned this in schools. And so it's just been such an opportunity to see this story told in this form, in a scripted form, in this way, and have it resonate the way that it has with Sarah in particular.
Think about what they ate. You know, you think about what did they listen to? How, you know, what did they sing? You know, how did they communicate? How did they speak to each other in the neighborhood? Not when they were at their jobs, you know. So, and all of that stuff works its way right into, right into our scenes, you know, and bring those little flavors, so to speak, to just make this world feel, as we are talking about, authentic, you know, so that, people watching it can recognize their fathers and their grandmothers and themselves, you know, in our characters on screen. So, absolutely, you'll see it is, we got cats out there playing dominoes like my father used to do.
To think, I would have never dreamed that we could not only see ourselves on screens across the country, but be agents and leaders and change makers in bringing those stories to life. I don't think I imagined that when I started in this industry. So I think the themes of facing the giants and winning is something that really resonates with me, and I think with a lot of other people as well.
The industry is changing, and I think what we now respond to in terms of content, what we program, what people are watching, those tastes have changed. And I think audiences have set, various creators, producers, broadcasters straight about what they're willing to watch, what they will lean into, and the way in which we also now consume content. I think we always love to say that the specific is universal, and that applies to stories that are about and written by members of underrepresented communities, whatever that community is.
We're playing catch up from generations where we don't have a lot of people in senior positions because there weren't opportunities for them to come in junior positions. So now that the tide is turning, yes, if we have a somebody in here who is not, will you take someone under your wing as an intermediate senior person and share with them? So there's generosity on all sides to be had if we are truly making diverse creative spaces in places that may not be accustomed to that.
Yes, unfortunately, it is still not the norm, but it was very important for us as we put together the on-the-ground production that, we had, we have it's no lie, we have mostly a black cast, a majority black cast in this show. We wanted a crew that would reflect them. We wanted, a beauty team that would make these performers feel comfortable and know that they would be taken care of, and specifically with black hair and black makeups, it's a specific thing, and so it was very important for us to do that. Charles and I, we really thought hard about who we wanted to collaborate with.
I just was in awe and admiration of the way in which this team has worked together to create this series, which we just think is absolutely fantastic. So that has been a big takeaway.
To me, this is probably the first show I worked on where we have this, assembly of really talented voices all at the center of the show and holding a shared vision. And I think it's powerful. And when you watch the show, you'll see how effective it is. And that's obviously a tribute to Amory, Marcia, RT, and Charles, but also, but I think also a testament to that approach to working this way.